To add Firebase to this project, first we need to create a Firebase account. So simply head over to firebase.google.com. On the top, click Sign In. Okay, once you log in, click Get Started for free. And here you can create your first project. So we're going to call this project Pepper. Okay, our project is ready. Now here on the welcome screen, we have an item for adding Firebase to a web application. Simply click this. In this dialog, you can see some sample code that we need to add on our index.html. So there is a script reference to Firebase SDK. So here, firebase.js, and this gives us a library to work with Firebase. And below that, we have a configuration object. So we got API key, auth domain, which is basically a subdomain under firebaseapp.com. Below that, we have database URL. Then we have storage bucket, which we use for storing files like photos, videos, and so on. And finally, we have messaging sender ID, which is used for sending push notifications. Now, we are not going to include this script reference in our index.html. Instead, we're going to use npm to add Firebase and another library called AngularFire to our project. So back in the terminal, here in the project folder, I'm going to run npm install Firebase and AngularFire2 -- save. Okay, now in VS Code, you can see in package.json, we have an entry for AngularFire2 version 2.0 in beta 6, and we also have Firebase at version 3.6. So in order to get the best experience while watching this course, I would recommend to install these specific versions. So you can either come back to package.json and modify the version of AngularFire2 and Firebase, then go back to terminal and do another npm install. Or while installing AngularFire2 and Firebase, you can specify version numbers. So you can type Firebase at 3.6.0 and AngularFire2 at version 2.0 beta 6. So we have installed AngularFire and Firebase into our project. Now we need to import it into our app module. So let's go to app.module.ts. Here on the top, I'm going to import AngularFire module from AngularFire2. Now, in case you're wondering what this AngularFire2 is, it's basically a library that sits on top of Firebase, and it makes it easier to build Angular 2 apps that use Firebase as the backend. You will see that shortly. So here we import AngularFire module. Now we need to export a constant, and let's call this Firebase config. It's basically a JSON object. Now here we need to add the configuration that you saw earlier on Firebase console. So back here, I'm going to copy these properties and paste them here. And finally, in ng module, I'm going to call AngularFire module dot initialize app and pass our configuration object, Firebase config. That's all we have to do to add Firebase to a project. So we install Firebase and AngularFire2, and then import this module into our app module. Now to make sure that everything is working, I'm going to go to app.component.ts. On the top, I'm going to import AngularFire from AngularFire2. This is the main object that we work with in our applications. So we need to inject it into our constructor. So here, a constructor. Add a parameter called AF of type AngularFire. And I'm simply going to log that in console. Save. Now back in terminal, If you stop ng-serve, make sure to run it again. So this is going to build another bundle. All right, back in Chrome, I'm going to open up console. And here's our Angular Fire object.